So we are reviewing solving equations with variables on both sides. So recall the very first thing we're going to do every time is draw a line down the middle. And the second thing we're going to do every time is we're going to label our sides. We're going to label our sides as X's and EE, which stands for everything else. So this just kind of gives us a guide of what needs to be where. The third thing we're going to do is we want to simplify each side. In this particular problem, we don't need to simplify anything because we can't combine anything. Like, we cannot combine 4x and 3, and we cannot combine 6x and 9. So we're going to leave this alone. So that's our third step, which we're not going to do. But then we're going to move on to our fourth step, okay? And our fourth step is where we actually start solving. So we need to figure out what we need to move out of place, what's in the wrong places. So when we look over here at this side, this left side, everything over here should have an X, so that tells us this 3 needs to move. To get rid of that 3, I'm going to do the opposite of adding 3, which is subtracting 3. And the rule in math is if you do something to one side, you have to do it to the other side. So if I minus 3 on the left, so I've got minus 3 here, that means I've got a minus 3 over here. Well, I can't minus 3 from 6x, so that won't help me, but I can minus 3 from negative 9, so I'm going to put it there. So I'm going to rewrite, I have 4x, because my plus 3 and my minus 3 cancel, equals 6x, and negative 9 minus 3, that's like owing me $9 and owing me another 3, so that's a negative 12. All right, so then we're looking to see what else we've got to take care of. So remember, everything on this left side over here should have an X, and that means everything over here should not have an X. So our 6x, it needs to move too. So to get rid of 6x, I'm going to minus 6x from both sides. And if I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other. So 4x minus 6x is negative 2x. 6x minus 6x, this is going to cancel out. And then I'm going to bring down my negative 12. So our last and our final step is always to solve, do our final solving. So we're either going to multiply or divide by something. So it says negative 2x, which we know means negative 2 times x. So to get rid of something that's multiplied, we're going to do the opposite of that, and we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. So negative 2 divided by negative 2, that cancels. I'm left with x equals negative 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. I'm sorry, positive 6. So my answer to this question would be positive 6. All right, so we're going to go through the same process. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line down the middle. I'm going to label my sides as my x's and EE for everything else. My third step, recall, is to simplify. Well, in this case, I have to simplify because I have parentheses here and I have several numbers over here. So we're going to distribute. Remember, when you have a negative sign in front of the parentheses, that really means there's a 1 there. So I'm going to multiply negative 1 times x, which is negative x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. And because the parentheses stops, I stop. So I'm going to bring down my minus 3 equals 5x plus 11. Well, when I look at this, I see that I have a minus 2 and a minus 3. These are like terms, so we can combine them together. And minus 2 minus 3 is actually going to give us negative 5. So we have negative x minus 5 equals 5x plus 11. Well, now I can start moving stuff around because each side is simplified. So everything over here should have an x, which tells us our negative 5 needs to move. To get rid of negative 5, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And I'm going to make sure I add 5 to 11 because I cannot add 5 to 5x. So negative 5 plus 5 is going to cancel. I have negative x equals 5x. 11 plus 5 is 16, and it is positive. All right, so remember over here, I'm going to relabel because I moved everything up. So over here should be everything else. Over here should be my x's, which tells me my 5x is out of place. So to get rid of my 5x, I'm going to minus 5x from both sides. So 5x minus 5x, these will cancel. And if we have negative x minus 5x, that's going to give me negative 6x equals 16. For my last and my final step, I need to divide both sides by negative 6. Remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So my negative 6's on the left are going to cancel. I'm left with x equals, I can't really divide 16 by negative 6, but I can reduce it because I can divide both 16 and negative 6 by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So that tells you my answer is negative 8 over 3. Remember, it doesn't matter where that negative sign goes as long as there is one. All right, so we have one more problem. So I'm going to draw my line down the middle, and I'm going to label my sides. So my x is on one side and everything else on the other. My third step is always to simplify. I've got a lot of simplifying to do in this because I have parentheses on both sides. So we're going to distribute. 3 times x is 3x. Then I'm going to multiply 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Minus 2x, I'm going to bring that down, equals, and I'm going to distribute again. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 1 is 7, it's positive, minus 5. Then I've got to simplify this, so I have 3x that I can combine with minus 2x, which is just x minus 12, equals. And then on the other side here, I have my plus 7 and my minus 5 that I can combine, so I get 7x, and then plus 7 minus 5 is 2. All right, so now we can start moving stuff around and getting things on the sides that we need to get them on. So remember, my x's are supposed to be on the left, so that tells me that this minus 12 is out of place. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. So I get x, because these minus 12 plus 12 cancel, so x equals 7x plus 14. And then I need to move some other things around because everything with an x should be over here. This 7x is out of place then. So I need to move this 7x to the left side. To do that, I need to subtract 7x from the right. If I do it to the right, I have to do it to the left. X minus 7x is negative 6x equals 14. And then my last and final step is I need to divide both sides by 6. And the reason I'm dividing is because, remember, this negative 6 and this x are multiplied together. So to undo multiplication, I have to divide. I can't really divide 14 by negative 6, just like the last problem, but I can divide both of them by 2. And if I divide 14 by 2, I'm going to get 7. If I divide negative 6 by 2, I'm going to get negative 3. So my answer is negative 7 over 3.